Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are in the Northeast, it has been a blustery day. It's a little bit warmer, but it's definitely a blustery day, and then it's supposed to drop later. Ooh. Okay, I'm sorry. I am now giving you the weather report, but it's all biology, right? Just small talk. Anywho, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Friday. So I talked briefly this week about the importance of electrolytes during your workouts, especially if you are going on long runs or you have training that requires prolonged exercise to prevent muscle fatigue. And it's going to be very important to incorporate specific electrolytes. Now, I had mentioned the next day how N-acetylcysteine is one of the most potent antioxidants that can decrease reactive oxygen species. This is important because as you prolong your exercise, these reactive oxygen species actually tend to develop, and that can also play a role in decreasing the functionality of the sodium and potassium pumps by pushing the sodium out and then keeping the potassium in. Or sorry, it's the other way around. Sodium going into the cell and then potassium out. So that can create that muscle cramping and that can create that fatigue. So, with that in mind, that's increasing inflammation and inflammatory compounds. Now, what else can increase inflammation do? That can also lead to cardiorespiratory issues as well. So, what I'm going to do today is talk about how we can address all of those with the power of whole foods. Yes, I am very excited about this. So, as everybody knows, I'm going to be running a 21-day detox starting January 9th, 2023. I'm actually really excited about this one. So we're not going to be meeting weekly on Zoom because everybody has very different schedules. So we have a WhatsApp and we're going to be communicating daily with each other. You're going to be able to ask me questions. We're going to be sharing our meals with each other, giving each other ideas, encouraging each other. We're really going to build a community. And what I love so much about this diet, yes, I do say that it is a detox, but really it's a clean eating plan. So if you're going to go on a clean eating plan anyway for the year at the beginning of the year, this is going to be the best detox for you. Detoxes don't have to be violent. In fact, it can just be clean eating. Uh-oh, did I just say that? Yes, I did. So you don't need to have a bunch of supplements. You don't need to have just shakes. You don't need to have juice cleanses. And then what else is there? A coconut oil detox. You can just use the power of whole foods. So with that in mind, I'm going to tie everything together on how you can use the power of these whole foods to detoxify your body, to incorporate those electrolytes as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit more background on what each of those electrolytes are, because it's not just sodium and potassium, but there are other ones that are extremely important for your body to function properly. And then I'm going to tie that in also to antioxidants, because on a detox, it is going to be very high in fruits and vegetables and a lot of other foods that are high in antioxidants, which, as I was saying before, increased reactive oxygen species generated from prolonged exercise takes a toll on the functionality of those sodium and potassium pumps. So it decreases muscle force production. So that's basically a neural circuitry in your brain telling your body and energy going towards that to be able to lengthen and shorten that muscle. If you're not able to do that, then they get kind of stiff, and then there's less energy to be able to make them more fluid. Let's just put it that way. That's going to be an easier way. So fluidity of the muscle. You want to be able to have some sort of antioxidants in there. You want to have proper electrolytes. And then you also want to decrease inflammation as well. Detoxification, if you're not detoxifying properly, then inflammation could go up. And then inflammation can also lead to cardiorespiratory issues later in the long run. Actually, there have been several documents. I am currently taking a class through the Center of Integrative Sports Nutrition, and we have been going over a lot of studies that have been showing that those who are marathon runners actually have developed some sort of, I don't want to say plaquing, but there's been some things that have been around their blood vessels, around their heart, because you're constantly being exposed to these reactive oxygen species. So it's really important that you really have everything in balance. So stress, sleep, nutrition, but Well, that could be, you know what, we're going to tie that in today too. Sure, why not? Because detoxing cannot just, it's not just by what you put in your body, it's also your brain as well. It's also making sure that you're creating a 2023 that you want. So with that in mind, this is really long. I'm going to introduce myself because I didn't do that yet. Hello, my name is Drew Mulvey. I'm a certified dietitian nutritionist. I'm a board certified nutrition specialist. I am a certified lead therapist, which is a specific food sensitivity protocol based off of mediator release testing. It's about 92% accurate and specific for these hypersensitivity reactions. I've done it myself. I've done it on my clients. I've seen amazing results, and I have felt so much better than any other food sensitivity test that is out there that I've experienced. I am also a precision nutrition level 1 coach. So that is more holistic sports nutrition. I am also a certified personal trainer. And as I was talking about just recently, I am taking a course at the Center of Integrative Sports Nutrition to become a certified integrative and functional sports nutritionist. There we go. I almost left that one out. I do work with overachieving athletic females to increase energy and stamina, particularly athletic performance, by improving their gut health, improving their hormonal balance, preventing or managing any signs of joint inflammation or inflammation in general, which could later lead to autoimmunity. But the most important thing I really focus on is creating a really great foundation for a good relationship with food, learning to love it again and learning to use it to fuel your body so you start to see it in your athletic performance and in your confidence too when you're training well and you're recovering well. So with that in mind, what I'm going to talk about today, I think I gave you a little bit of background on electrolytes. Well, the sodium and potassium, a little bit of background on that on Tuesday and why it's so important for that muscle force production, because you want to make sure that your muscles are lengthening and they're shortening. And the faster they're able to do that, the better you're going to be able to run, the more you're going to be able to do your exercise. Now, the problem is if you're not getting enough of those electrolytes, you're going to be cramping because the potassium is being shot out of your cells. Potassium is responsible for preventing cramping, and then sodium is going into the cell, and sodium helps that fluidity as well. So that's why it's important to be able to have something around you that you have those electrolytes about 60 minutes after you are into exercise, especially when it's a prolonged training period. So it's important to have those in there. But why don't we go into a little bit more detail as to why they're so important, or exactly what is an electrolyte? So if you think about it, electrolytes generate an electrical signal in your body. Pretty easy. And they're responsible for fluid electrolyte balance in your body, fluid balance particularly. And this also involves the relaxation of your nervous system. It plays a key role in liver detoxification. As I said, everything interconnects today. It increases the absorption of nutrients, and it does help to prevent that muscle cramping and relaxing those smooth muscles as well. So, I just went into magnesium. I'm sorry, but yes, that I got ahead of myself. I am so sorry about that. But what electrolytes do, they basically conduct an electric energy, an electric current in your body, so it helps things to move along. If these are imbalanced, then we could start to get dizzy. We can start to get joint pain. We can start to get muscle fatigue. We could be fatiguing really easily. And then just get a lot of cramping. So it's really important that you are getting these electrolytes, let alone, as I was saying, that these electrolytes, particularly certain ones, are going to help with detoxification. If you're not detoxifying properly, then the inflammation is just going to rise because those toxins tend to circulate. Actually, if you get constipated a lot, constipation, the intestines, that technically phase 3 of liver detoxification is the digestive tract. So you eliminate those toxins through the urine and through the kidneys, through the urine, and then also it goes down in the bile and into the large intestine so that you eliminate it through the feces. So it's really important that you don't get constipated. If you do get constipated, that could be recycling of toxins, recycling of hormones, which could create that hormonal imbalance too. So it's really important that having these proper electrolytes are going to help to stimulate that electrical circuitry, that electrical generation in your body to be able to get everything functioning properly. So let's talk a little bit more about what potassium is. Potassium, probably everybody knows this. They say, all right, what do you do when you get muscle cramps? you go eat a banana. Why? Because it's got potassium in it. But why is it particularly that this electrolyte is good for that? Well, not only is it responsible for just relaxing the muscles, it also relaxes smooth muscle, which is very important with your heart rate. It's also important for energy production and nerve conduction, which is really important. If your nerves are not firing properly, then you are not going to be moving properly, let alone you're not going to be thinking properly. So very important. And your heartbeat actually can be affected as well. So it's very important that you do have enough potassium in there. Again, you don't have to have a boatload of potassium when you are in the midst of a prolonged exercise, but you do want to make sure that you have some potassium in there. I'm going to go into what sodium does too. So some sources of potassium that you can incorporate into your diet are some that you can incorporate into a detox. As I said, a detox is very fruit and veggie heavy, but there's some clean proteins, beans, grains. As I said, it's more of like a clean eating plan. So some of the good sources of potassium are, as I said, virtually all fruits and vegetables, bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes and potatoes actually are very good sources of potassium. Coconut water, I actually take those on my long rides a lot, and I put a little bit of sodium in them, so I get the potassium and the sodium. Plus the coconut water, when you are going on prolonged bike rides, your body's also going to be using up your glycogen. So you need to replete the glycogen with a little bit of carbohydrate. That also helps to decrease cortisol levels, so it's not putting an extra stressor on your body. So yeah, coconut water you can incorporate in there with like a little bit of sea salt. Sometimes I put some lime in there too. It makes a nice little electrolyte drink. Other sources include green leafy vegetables, black beans, cantaloupe, and molasses. So who likes gingerbread? Yeah, that's one of my favorites. And molasses is a great source of potassium. So that does not mean that I am saying that you had gingerbread every day. Do not come back and do not allude that back to me, please. But you can have molasses that's actually really great in making your own electrolyte drink too. So you can add a little bit of molasses in there with a little bit of the sodium and some coconut water. I've done that before. It's actually pretty good. So other ways or other electrolytes that we're going to talk about is sodium. Well, there's been a lot of guidelines saying that you need to limit your sodium intake. Why is this? Because sodium is a vasoconstrictor. So a vasoconstrictor, if you think of constriction, it makes the blood vessels smaller. So that's why the heart has to beat faster, and that's how blood pressure goes up. But is that really the whole story? Well, I was just talking about potassium before. You need a nice balance of sodium and potassium for the heart to actually beat properly. So it's not so much about decreasing the sodium. You just have to make sure that both of them are balanced. But sodium is also responsible. It's your most abundant extracellular cation. Now, what happens is when you are training for long periods of time, as I was saying before, that sodium goes into the cell. And you need to have that proper balance. So when you're bringing sodium in, you're also repleting the sodium that you're losing through your sweat as well. And B, you're keeping the cells so that when you have the sodium on the outside, then the cell's not going to say, I need to shoot out potassium. And then that's also going to prevent you from getting that muscle cramping, because I was saying potassium helps to prevent muscle cramping. And sodium is probably one of the easiest things to add in to your diet. Actually, all right, you don't want to bring this into I've never heard of anybody bringing this on a ride. I don't know. If you want to try this, then go ahead. Tomato soup is a really good source of sodium and potassium. They have about even levels, so that would be really good for your heart rate. But other sources of really good sodium, I usually use pink Himalayan sea salt. Any sort of the seaweeds, because they have that natural salt in there, and then some sort of like salty nuts or salty pretzels or things like that. I know somebody, I actually do know Dr. Barker. He is a naturopath naturopathic doctor over in Colorado, and he likes to use pretzels because that's giving you carbohydrates and it's giving you electrolytes. So really, that's probably going to be one of the easiest ones that you can incorporate into your diet. And sodium is totally okay on a detox. Using that pink Himalayan sea salt has about 84 other minerals in it as well, aside from the sodium. So it is important that you do have enough sodium. What happens is if you don't have enough sodium, this happens a lot actually in athletes. When you're drinking too much, you basically blow up the cell. And when the cell blows up, then you can have brain issues. And all right, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to go down the morbid road, but still, you can really mess up your body. So you want to make sure that you are not hyponatremic, meaning that you have low levels of sodium. So incorporating sodium is going to be very important. But another important electrolyte, especially for nerve conduction and for muscle conduction, is calcium. Now, calcium, we think it's just for our bones, right? It's not just for our bones. Calcium is actually very important for calming you down and soothing your muscles. And it's also extremely important for muscle contraction. Well, we talked about that there's sodium and potassium pumps in the sarcolemma of the muscles, which helps with that fluid electrolyte balance, which helps the muscles to lengthen and to shorten. There's also calcium channel dependent channels as well that would rely on that calcium to be able to help with that muscle force production as well. So if you are depleted of calcium at all, then that could also lead to muscle cramping and also muscle fatiguing early. So some good sources, obviously all dairy products have calcium, but there are some vegan sources as well. I shouldn't say vegan sources, but there's some veggie sources as well. Basically, all of your green leafy vegetables are going to have calcium. They're going to have potassium too, and they're going to have magnesium, which is the next electrolyte that I'm going to incorporate in. So other good sources are tahini, so sesame seeds. Molasses is actually an excellent source of calcium. Black beans, and then as I was saying, or any organic grass-fed dairy is going to be important. But what happens is that we focus so much on calcium that we lose sight of what else we need to be able to absorb calcium. And that leads us to our next one, magnesium. So magnesium, as I was saying before, it helps to kind of simmer down the central nervous system a lot. Maybe go into more of like a parasympathetic tone instead of sympathetic, which is responsible for fight or flight. It also helps with smooth muscle contraction. So it really helps with digestion, particularly peristalsis, and it helps to prevent muscle fatiguing as well. Magnesium, along with potassium, is very important for heart rate. So if you're not getting enough magnesium and you're putting your body under stress, let alone it's being what's the word that I'm looking for? Exposed to all those reactive oxygen species that you are generating from prolonged exercise or really, really heavy exercise, then yeah, your heart's going to be speaking to you. So it's really important that you do have that magnesium in there to kind of flood your system a little bit so that you relax. So pretty much magnesium is in any green product, I shouldn't say any green product, any green natural food. So that's broccoli, avocados, your green leafy vegetables. What else? Asparagus, pumpkin seeds, zucchini. If I left out, artichokes, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. So anything that's green is going to be a really good source of magnesium. Also, some almonds are a good source of magnesium, and chocolate is a really good source of magnesium too. Plus, chocolate is very good post-workout because it actually helps with the stimulation of nitric oxide, which helps to dilate the blood vessels and deliver the nutrients. Plus, it's very high in antioxidants, which I was saying before, after prolonged exercise, you have a lot of those circling around. So the debate on the timing of the antioxidants is there's been a lot of conflicting evidence, but it sounds like if you have a good baseline of antioxidants in your system, you don't want to overdo it, particularly during or even after, because you don't want to blunt the effect of what your body is doing with the inflammation, particularly producing mitochondria, which are your energy producers. Now, for energy, speaking of energy and speaking of magnesium and green foods, these are very alkalizing foods. And on this detox, there's going to be a real emphasis on these alkalizing foods because these alkalizing foods help the body to generate energy much more effectively. Now, you need an acid alkaline balance. You don't want to go too far to the left or too far to the right. Because if you're acidic, then actually speaking of calcium, your body, your bones actually leach out the calcium to be able to alkalize the environment. And that can create weak bones, which could lead to stress fractures. And we'd rather not have that because we want to maintain longevity in our sports, right? So alkalinity is going to be really important, and magnesium is going to provide that a lot of those green leafy vegetables. Plus, as I was saying, the antioxidants in there, which are going to only help those sodium and potassium pumps to be able to actually create that muscle force production and not fatigue as much. So now we're going to go into another one that we haven't really talked too much about, and that is chloride. No, we're not talking about drinking pool water. I do not advise against that, or I do not advise for that. I advise against that. Why is that? Because chlorine can actually compete with iodine at the thyroid receptor. And I'm not saying chloride does that. This is something that's very different because chloride you actually need for digestion. Think about that. What is our stomach acid made of? Hydrochloric acid. Yep. So if you don't have enough chloride in your system, then you're not going to be able to digest things properly. If you don't digest things properly, then you're not going to be able to get the nutrients that you need, and they're not going to be able to absorb them, let alone there's magnesium to be able to decrease those muscle cramps, the potassium to decrease muscle cramps. So it's really important that you have enough chloride. Now, some of the things that you can incorporate, something that's gotten really popular recently is celery juice. Celery is an amazing source of chloride. Usually celery juice you have about a half an hour before you eat a meal, and that helps to produce that hydrochloric acid, and it helps with better digestion. And then it's an anti-inflammatory. It's a good source of vitamin K as well. But going on that, there's other sources of chloride, such as seaweed, organic rye, and those are organic tomatoes and olives as well. So incorporating that chloride is just going to help your digestive juices. Now, when you are under a prolonged state of stress, a lot of endurance athletes have experienced gastrointestinal symptoms. Why is that? Because when your body is under stress, it's not going to want to produce hydrochloric acid. So that's why usually there's gels out there. I actually bring a banana raisin puree with me because it's easier on the system to digest because your body's not thinking about digestion at that point. So even adding in a little bit of chloride to your diet is going to be really important, especially for that digestion, and also the other electrolytes as well. Which, have you found a theme that all of these are really high in antioxidants and they detoxify your body and they're good for your liver, and any sort of way to decrease inflammation can only help your cardiorespiratory health? Yes, they're all interconnected. Speaking more of antioxidants, I did talk about N-acetylcysteine on Wednesday, I believe, and how N-acetylcysteine has been shown. I shouldn't say it's been shown because there's been some conflicting evidence on that, but N-acetylcysteine can diminish the reactive oxidative species that are generated from those prolonged exercises. And N-acetylcysteine actually is the precursor to your natural antioxidant glutathione, which glutathione is responsible for also phase 2 liver detoxification. Yes, everything goes hand in hand. So with that in mind, I have created this whole food 21-day detox. So it's addressing your energy balance. It's adding in those antioxidants in there. So it gives you a nice base, antioxidant base, to prevent that muscle fatiguing and really helping you with that muscle force production, which is really important when you're doing longer bouts of exercise. It's also going to be a great source of electrolytes. So using whole foods such as seaweeds or such as coconut water or potatoes or sweet potatoes or bananas. All of these are very alkalizing too, and they're going to help with energy production and help with mitochondrial function, which helps us to produce energy. And if you don't have proper mitochondrial function, then that can also affect your heart too. So goes hand in hand. So really, if you want to have an amazing 2023 and set an amazing foundation without starving yourself, without kicking yourself at the beginning of the year, without feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry and this is so boring, this is the best detox for you. We have pancakes on the detox. We have brownies on the detox. So I'm actually teaching you how to incorporate whole foods into dishes that are very much like their emotionally satisfying counterparts, and they're still emotionally satisfying, and it's doing the job of detoxifying your body. We also take out some pro-inflammatory foods that people, you might have a little sensitivity to. You don't know unless you start bringing it back in, but we do take some of those foods away just to decrease any sort of inflammation that there could be, and really bump up the fruits and the veggies, incorporating how did I want to say this? Proteins. Yes, you're incorporating vegetable protein. So beans, nuts, seeds are going to be really great for protein, as well as incorporating clean animal protein. So wild caught fish, pastured eggs, actually, they're really great for sulfur, and sulfur is important for phase 2 liver detoxification. We got the carbohydrates in there because that actually helps to bind the toxins as well, and helps with glucuronidation, which is part of phase 2 liver detoxification in particular. And all of this is decreasing inflammation. It's making you happier. It's creating more energy. This is completely catered to I shouldn't even say it, how much food you're going to need for fuel. So really, this is going to set a really great foundation. You don't have to keep on this after 21 days to a T, but this is going to be really high in antioxidants, bringing in those electrolytes as well. Really protecting your heart and helping with that heart rhythm, and preventing muscle cramping, and really setting the tone for 2023. So if that sounds like you, if you have been an athletic female, or you are an athletic female, and you're really looking for a way to set that foundation for this year, sign up for this detox. It's going to be January 9th through the 30th, 2023. The signups are going to be ending on January 4th, Wednesday. So there's only 10 spots that are available. Please make sure that you reserve yours today so that you get in. All the coaching is going to be done on WhatsApp. We're going to be sharing meals with each other. We're going to be encouraging each other. You're going to be asking me questions. I'm going to give some advice in there. I'm going to be speaking with everybody. So it's really, really great. I've had amazing, amazing success with this detox. So with that in mind, I think that I've tied everything together, that electrolytes are important for your muscle functioning and your heart. It's also important to decrease any sort of reactive oxygen species that could be generated from prolonged exercise, so that you create that muscle force production and you can maintain some of that energy and stamina, especially if you have to go for 3 more hours. And what we talked about, and detox. So with that in mind, I'm going to just introduce myself again. Hello, my name is Drew Mulvey. I am a certified dietitian nutritionist. I am a board certified nutrition specialist. I am a certified lead therapist, which is a specific food sensitivity protocol based off of mediator release testing. I am a precision nutrition level 1 coach, which is more holistic sports nutrition. I am a certified personal trainer, and I am also a candidate for a certification in integrative and functional sports nutrition from the Center of Integrative Sports Nutrition over in the UK. I work with overachieving athletic females to help improve athletic performance and energy and stamina through balancing hormones, improving their gut health, preventing or managing symptoms of inflammation, improving recovery, and really, really setting the foundation for having a healthy relationship with food, to view it as fuel and to view it as fun at the same time. So again, if that sounds like you need a little bit more one-on-one attention, then please sign up with me. My icebreaker call link is going to be in my bio for those of you that are on Instagram. For those of you that are on Facebook, I am going to be putting the link to the detox and the link to my icebreaker call in the comments below. If that sounds like you, if you really want to take 2023 to a new level and improve your health in so many different parameters of health, sign up for this detox, or let's get talking. All right, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a very Merry Christmas. Take care. Bye-bye.